Vancouver, a city surrounded by mountains, known for scenic views, a mild climate, and top-notch sushi. While it is famous for being one of the best places in the world to live, it simultaneously is known to be the most expensive metropolis in Canada. Anyways, I recently was forced to get some paperwork done in Vancouver, so after traveling almost 1,000 kilometers for a passport renewal, I took the opportunity and turned this crazy journey into a short holiday with my wife. Now, as a woodworker, I ran into a lot of fascinating objects and constructions, and since this is a woodworking channel, I thought I'd share some of my experiences with you guys. To start this off, I want to show you this sculpture by Brent Comer. It is called the Shattered Sphere and is made of local cedar. This might look rather simple until you try to figure out how he kept all those pieces together without any visible screws or nails. And how on earth did he make this giant ball so perfectly round? If you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. I actually just ran into this piece by chance on my way to the Capilano suspension bridge, a very famous tourist attraction in the North District of Vancouver. At $63 Canadian for a day ticket, this is a bit of a pricey place to go, but they did such a great job to create those beautiful dreamlike spots around the suspension bridge that I can't even complain. Just look at the small bridge crossing over a little creek. Somebody put a lot of thought and work into this. Details like the curved beams of the roof structure, or the curved railing posts that hold the steel cable on those little balconies on the left and right of the bridge make for a really unique look, let alone the giant laminated beam support. I mean, I didn't have a tape measure with me, but I think the arch is about 8 feet high and 18 feet wide. The 6x12 horizontal beams that hold the roof are probably 24 feet long, so they definitely need support in the center. Using an arch over a vertical post allows an unobstructed view and access to the balcony, and of course it looks cool. It is not without flaws though. It looks like they used 1x6 boards for the lamination. 1-inch thickness is just a bit too much in thickness for an aggressive arch like that, and it shows. The boards broke on multiple spots, compromising the overall strength of the lamination. I assume some sort of polyurethane glue has been used, which is a good choice for gap-filling applications, but at the butt joints you still can see light coming through. If those boards would have been cut to half the thickness of just under half an inch on the bandsaw, this lamination would have been flawless. That being said, a series of 19 leg screws per arch help to hold everything together, and the whole construction has been over-engineered to begin with, so this is really just a minor criticism. Overall, this is excellent craftsmanship and a pleasure to look at. Another interesting little detail around here are hundreds of those little copper band-aids on the wooden walkways. I assume small defects are considered a tripping hazard, and instead of replacing the whole board, those copper plates are being used to cover them. Copper is easy to work with and long-lasting, so not a bad choice, I guess. Speaking of laminated beams, check out this massive masterpiece. This is part of the Telus garden office on Richards Street. The wooden ribs are intended to echo West Coast indigenous forms, and with the huge curved steel beam in the center, the whole thing looks almost like a giant leaf. It's not only the sheer size of those beams, but also their crosscut profile that are so impressive. The Richmond fabrication company Structure Lam used Douglas fir and a large-scale CNC machine to produce them. Because of the size, this gap looks fairly small, but it is almost finger-thick at the top, so there are some minor aesthetic flaws, which also could be simply the result of seasonal movement. If that's the case, then this is nearly impossible to avoid. I also noticed a misalignment on multiple connections. If we zoom in here, it looks like the slot for the steel plate was cut about an inch too wide. I have my doubts that this happened by accident, so I'm not sure if this is to allow enough tolerances during assembly, or if there's another reason for this. Either way, it doesn't take away from how beautiful this pavilion turned out, and it shows what can be done if you start pushing the boundaries of traditional glue-laminated beams. A must-go location every time I am in Vancouver is the Maritime Museum west of Falls Creek. The stunning A-frame structure houses an entire ship, the Zarok, the first ship that made the west-east traverse of the Northwest Passage between 1940 and 1942. You're actually allowed to walk around on the ship, which really makes for an immersive experience. And needless to say, as a woodworker, I'm blown away by the sheer amount of work that was involved building this ship. But that's not all you can see in this museum. I could spend hours staring at this model of the Bonhomme Richard, an American warship that was built in 1765. The amount of details is just insane. If that doesn't knock your socks off, how about this ship model made by prisoners of the Napoleonic Wars between 1793 and 1815? And here's the kicker. The ship is made from pork and beef bones from their rations, the only solid material they could get their hands on. The details are even more impressive with this ship if you consider the circumstances under which it was built. As fascinating as museums and tourist attractions can be, you don't have to go to those places to discover interesting woodwork. I was just walking through the streets of Vancouver when I saw this fence here. This is a really good example of what can be done with just some basic construction lumber and a lot of creativity. Notice how the two 4x4 rails on top and bottom here are rotated by 45 degrees along the long axis. That gives the whole thing such an interesting and unique look, let alone the core of the panel itself that almost looks like a giant Japanese kumiko pattern. This would be such a great way to use up all the short pieces of 2x4 cut-offs that we all have kicking around in our shop. That is really well done. Paying attention to the details and asking yourself questions also lets you learn from the mistakes of others. Someone spends so much time and effort to build dozens of those end grain tables in a Mexican restaurant, and each single one of them was cracked on multiple spots. I'm gonna give you guys a little riddle here. Can you explain why this happened? I'm looking forward to read your ideas in the comment section. I might as well give you another one. I was walking by a restaurant when I noticed those tables. What caught my eye was the 1-inch thick threaded rod and the counterbore hole for the washer and the nut. Now, whoever built those definitely knew what he was doing. Can you tell me what the purpose of the threaded rod is? As you can see, the world is full of master-level craftsmanship, and sometimes it's hiding in plain sight in places you might have walked by already 100 times. It is up to us to recognize them and to appreciate and learn from them. On that note, I hope this video inspired you to look at the world around you from a little bit different angle. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.